Okay, so I'm going through Catholic High P5 end of year paper. This is the 2023 paper. So just take note, this is a paper 2. Paper 2, you're allowed to use calculator, okay, as per the instructions here. So let's begin. Okay, question 1, the figure is made up of 8 identical squares. So what percentage of the figure is shaded? Alright, so when the question asks for percentage that's shaded, your priority is to create a fraction first. So imagine the question says what fraction of the figure is shaded. Put it that way. Okay. So we're going to calculate the fraction. So two triangles, I think we can just combine it to form one square. Okay, so I just bring this over to here. And then this triangle also, I can put it in here. So that means there will be 1, 2, and 3. 3 squares. 3 shaded squares all together. So if I were to create a fraction, it will be 3 out of 8 squares. Once you have the fraction, you can multiply this by 100% in order to convert it to a percentage. So you're allowed to use calculator, please go ahead and use it. This should be 37.5%. Okay, question 2. What is the price of the game console including 8% GST? Right. So notice that the price stated here is before GST. In other words, this is the original price. So when you want to include GST, with the GST, your final price should be more expensive. All right. So if it's more expensive, means we have to calculate with the GST. All right. So there are two methods from here. The first method is you can treat this one as your 100%, and then after you go and calculate your 1%, and then you calculate with the 8% GST from and just solve from there. All right. Another method is you can just use the one-step multiplication method. So that's what I'm going to use. So I'm just going to calculate the GST first. All right. So the GST is 8% of the original price. So in other words, if I were to calculate 8% means I can use 8 over 100 to multiply this by the original price. Multiply this by the original $365. And this will give us $29.20. Now this is just the tax alone, okay? So this tax you're paying on top of this 365. So the final price of the game console means you have to take 365 plus the GST amount. And this works out to be $394.20. On the calculator, it will give you 0.2. On writing, you have to put 0.20 because it's money, 2 decimal place. All right. Okay, so let's go on to question 3. Now, the average test score of Jara, Huda, and Indra was 75 marks. Okay, and Jara and Indra had the same score, whereas Huda's score was 15 marks less than Indra's score. Okay, so we have the word same, we have the word less than. This tells us we can start off with a model first to show the comparison. So I'll just put in alphabetical order, Gerald, Huda, and Indra. So Gerald and Indra, they both have the same score. So I'll just draw both of them the same size. I'll start with this. Now, and for Huda scored 15 marks less than Indra. So Huda's model, I have to draw smaller than Indra's model. Okay, so the 15 marks lesser will be this gap over here. This is the 15 difference between Huda and Indra. Right? Now, and from there, we look back at the first sentence, the average score of Gerald, Huda, and Indra was 75. Now, take note, 75 is only the average. All right, and average is for each person. So with the 75, you should go on to calculate the total score. So let's work on that. The total score will be 75 times 3, since there's 3 people here. Okay, and with that, of course, means that I can now do something to the 15. So you can use the top-up method. You can take your 225 plus 15. That means you treat Huda as a full unit, same as Jera and Indra. All right, so we're going to do just that. So 225 plus 15 which works out to be 240. So this 240 will represent Gerald, Indra, and Huda, pretending he's the full model, same as Gerald, Indra. So it means I can take 240 divided by 3 to find either Gerald or Indra. So now the question wants Gerald's score. So actually there we already have Gerald's score, which is 80 marks. Question 4. At an exhibition, the ratio of men to women was 1 to 3 at first. After 36 men arrived and half the women left the exhibition, the ratio of men to women became 1 to 1. How many people were there at first? Okay, so there are two methods from here. First method, you can use purely or ratio. Your ratio, then maybe you have to present it using a before change and after diagram. Okay, so that's method 1. Now method 2 is you can also use model to solve. So the reason why I say model to solve, although there are two ratios presented here, rarely we use model in such cases, but why I suggest model is possible, also because this is a 1-to-1 ratio. 1-to-1 means in the end, men and women are the same number. So same number, actually when you use model, right, it's still relatively easy to adjust the model to make it 1-to-1 in the end. All right, so my case here, I will use the model method. I think I'll choose to use the model method. All right, so we are going to start off with the men and women model, showing 1 and 3 units, okay, following the ratio. So they say men to women, 1 to 3. Now model, make sure you draw bigger, do not draw too small. Okay, you are expecting adjustments to be made to the model, so make sure it's large enough for you to label things later. Otherwise, when you find things very cramped, it's very troublesome. You need to re-erase and then redraw just because you can't see what you're writing also. Okay, so 1 to 3 ratio like this. Now I'm just going to use another color to show the changes. So 36 men arrived and half the women left. All right, so let's do the 36 men who arrived first. So 36 men means we are going to go on to add on. All right. Now, the thing is, I do not know how far to add on 36. Okay, so maybe what I'll do is I'll pause the men first. I will go on to shake the women away first because of this sentence. Half the number of women left the exhibition. So I think women will be easy to begin with because women, out of 3 parts, I know the half would be somewhere here. Right? So this is the half. Okay, so this is the one that I shake off. I shade off this part because half the women left the exhibition. All right. Now, from here, I think we can easily work out the 36 from where to where already. So 36 men arrived. Don't forget, men and women in the end must be 1 to 1. 1 to 1 means same size. So the women in the end is from here to the dotted line. You must also ensure men in the end also from here all the way to the dotted line. So that means this gap here is the 36 men who came in. Okay, you say this is how I infer the information. All right. And with that, we should go on to cut the rest of the units. Each big unit I cut into 2 small parts, so do the same for the rest. Cut, cut. So now looking at the model, we can see that this whole thing men equals to the women unshaded now, which satisfies this part now. Okay, so looking at the model, can you all see this 36 is actually 1 U. So now this is my new 1 unit. So I'll use that. 1 unit is now 36. Okay, people at first. So where are the people at first? People at first will be those that you draw at the very beginning, the solid line model. So let's count the men at first. Men at first is 2 units here, right? Don't count 36. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I must count this 6, 7, 8 because this was also women at first. Okay, so at first there are a total of 8 units, which works out to be 288 people at first. Yeah, so let's go on to the next question. So this should be fine. I hope. Okay, the following solids made up of 8 unit cubes. Draw the top view and the side view. Okay, so top view first. So top view, I will focus from left to right. Imagine my eye is somewhere here. So 1, 2. So this 2 squares first. So I'll just shade 2 squares. All right. Then the next one is 1, 2, 3. So 1, 2, then 1, 2, 3 in the middle column. So 1, 2, the bottom one, 3. And lastly, you notice we have 1 here, and the 1 here is at the bottom row. So it's attached to this square here. Okay. So that's it. This is your top view. Now side view is here. So side view means I look at this. Okay. So I'm just going to use this color pen to shape for the top view, yeah. So that some of you, I understand it's not easy for you to see such uh views, like you're not very good at it, it's okay. Okay, so maybe I'll color code here to help you see a little better, right? So I'm going to use another color. I'm going to use a brown one for the side view. Okay, so the side view, what you will see is this. You will see this as well. Of course, you see this. You should see this also. You should see this also. Okay, I hope it without anything. Yeah. All right. So the side views are the ones that are colored in brown. So let's do from bottom to top. So bottom, I should see 1, 2, 3 squares in a row. So 1, 2, 3. Okay. Next will be in the middle here, 1, 2. Okay, so stack them. All right, that's it. So side view 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 squares. Okay. Okay, let's go on to question 6. Question 6. So group A had 24 boys and group B had 104 boys at first. When an equal number of girls joined each group, the number of children in group B became twice the number of children in group A. How many girls joined each group? Okay, so we have done this kind of question a few times in class before. I hope you actually realize that you can use the before change after method to present the information. So we're going to start off with A at first. A had 24 boys at first. B had 104 boys at first. Now notice that I didn't put it as a ratio. I just write it using the equal sign because this 24 and 104 are actual number of people already. So a ratio is not necessary. Just use equal will do. Alright, so we're going to go on to show the change. Now the change is that equal number of girls join the group. Okay, so equal number of girls join each group means for group A, I plus a certain number of people, but I don't know how many girls came in, so I put a question mark. Same for the boys. Sorry, same for the group B. For group B also, I add in a certain number of people. I don't know how many. But I know that these two question marks are the same number. Okay, as stated by the question. Now at the end, the number of children in group B became thrice of group A. So this thrice, you can write down a A to B ratio. So B is thrice of A means this is 1 unit, this is 3 units. Okay, now from here, just ask yourself what stays the same throughout. So how do I know? This is a clue. Equal number of girls join each group. When you have the same number of people joining each group, I hope you remember it's the difference between A and B staying the same throughout. Okay, so I'm just going to type that down here. Difference between group A and group B remains unchanged. Remains you can say remains the same. Right? So in other words, I can work out the difference between A and B. So let's do that. So the difference of 80 people means if I look at the units 3 and 1U, the difference of 2 units. Right? So now I can say 2 units is the 80 people. So of course, work out 1 unit. Once you have that, you are interested in how many girls join each group. Now, for this, it doesn't matter you use group A or group B to solve because anyway, same number of girls join group A and B. So you choose you want to work with A or you want to work with B, up to you. I think I'll just work with A. Since I found out 1 unit is 40, that means A here in the end is 40. So you might want to put a note there. A in the end. okay? Which means now I can compare A at first. You compare A in the end. You see A at first was 24, but A in the end here is 40. So the number of girls joining the group, just take the after minus the before people. So that's 16 girls. Okay. Okay, let's move on to question 7. Now, a rectangular tank 27 cm wide, 42 cm long, and 18 cm deep. Okay, so if you don't know where's the wide, long, deep, long typically means the length. So they stated here for you some more. They draw the diagram. Wide is the breadth. Deep, how deep is like the height. Okay, so this contains 5670 ml of water. How much water must be added so that the water level is 3 cm from the top? Okay, now when they say 3 cm from the top, in other words, means I want to fill up until there's a gap of 3 cm. Okay, maybe let me just draw it here. I want a gap of 3 cm. So your water, okay, your water should reach up to here. Okay, you want the water to reach somewhere up to here so that you leave a 3 cm space. All right. Now that means I would be interested in finding out what is the final volume of water that is needed. And to do that, let's work out the height of water first. So the final water height. So I need to write this down, final water level or water height. Okay, so the final height means 18 minus 3. I want the water to reach up to a 15 cm height. Now with this 15 cm height and with the breadth of 27 with the length of 42 means I can find out the final volume, final water volume, which is my length times the breadth times the final height of water. So this is 17,000. Okay, so this will be 17,010 cm cube, cm3, cubic centimeters. Okay. Now, but currently the tank, they say it contains 5670 ml of water. All right. Now, 5670 ml, if I were to change it to cm3, same as this, it's just 5670 cm3. Okay, they're pretty much the same thing. Okay, so this is just 5670 cm3. All right. So currently there's so little water, only 5,000 plus. But my final water volume, I need it to hit this much. So that will be the how much water must be added by using the difference between these two. Okay, so basically I use the final water volume minus away the current volume. So that will be 11,340 ml. That means 11,340 cm3 of water to be added in. So that will be my answer. So when you all write down your answer, you can either write ml or cm3 for this. Doesn't matter. Okay. Now we shall go on to question 8. So Dan and Alvin used the same number of ice cream sticks to make a model. So Dan used 1/5 of his ice cream sticks and Alvin used 3/4 of his sticks. They had a total of 665 sticks at first. How many sticks did each boy use? Now be very careful. You should not be making the denominators the same. Okay? Because the denominator 5 here represents Dan's total sticks. 4 here represents Alvin's total sticks. We are not sure whether each of their total sticks are they really the same total. Okay, so do not do that. All right. What we only know is the same is the used, as stated here. Same number of sticks will be what they use. All right. So in other words, that means what they use, if you look back at the fraction stated here, then use 1/5 of instead. So this is what Dan has used. See, so the comprehension here is very important because you must be clear what your numerator and what your denominator each represent. And the 5, like I said earlier, this is Dan's total stakes at first. And this 3 is Alvin's used. And 4 is Alvin's at first or Alvin's total. Okay, so you have to be clear on all these things first before you can decide, okay, am I supposed to make denominator same or make something else the same? So you see, Dan and Alvin use the same number of sticks. That means what they use 1 unit here and 3 units here. By right, you should be making numerators the same. Okay, but before that, let's present it this way. So since this is what they used, you see, use 1/5, use 3/4. That means I can safely say that 1/5 of Dan's stakes is equal to 3/4 of Alvin's stakes. So this is how you can present your first equation first. All right. Now, once this is done, I can go on to make numerators the same. So here's a 3, here's a 1. I should change the left-hand side to a 3 also. Of course, when you change this to a 3 times 3 to this, right, your bottom also must change accordingly. Okay. Right-hand side fraction, just recopy down, no change. Once this is done, the next step is you should go on to write a D to E ratio. The D to E ratio tells us the total stakes each person has at first in terms of units. So that means Dan has 15 units, Alvin has 4 units of stakes. Okay, the 3 just means what they use. Okay, so maybe let's just put a note down to remind ourselves. The 3 here is the used. Okay. Now, with that, let's go on to solve using the 665. They had a total of 665 sticks at first. 665 is the total at first, which actually is indicated from the ratio 15U and 4U together. So you can add them together. So now I can say this 19 units is the 665 at first. Just work out 1 unit now. Once you have that, how many sticks did each boy use? Now remember what each boy used. If you look at the fraction here, you see what each person used is 3 units, 3 units. Then use 3 units, Alvin also used 3 units. You don't look back at the 1/5 or the 3/4 really. Just focus on using these workings that you have created here. Alright, so they only want each boy, just use any one of the 3 units will do. Okay, so basically it's really just working out 3U. Alright, and that's it. Each boy used 105 ice cream sticks. Okay, I'll move on to question 9. Now in the square grid below, PQ and QR are straight lines. Measure and write down the size of angle PQR. Okay, so I think this one you should, okay, I can't really show you the protractor from here. So you should be able to figure out, use your protractor, put it at angle PQR. Okay, so if you have measured and write down, your A should be 100 degrees. All right, it shouldn't be less than 100. It should be slightly above 90 degrees because if you see the angle, it's actually can tell it's more than a right angle already. Okay. Okay, the next one, PQ and QR. They form two sides of trapezium PQRS. Okay, so trapezium, we just covered this term recently. A trapezium, what is so special? It's a four-sided figure with only one pair of parallel lines. All right. Now they say PS is parallel to QR. All right. PS is thrice the length of QR. So complete the drawing of trapezium PQRS. Okay, I think by right they shouldn't have drawn this RS for you. So this is a mistake now. Okay, this was a student's work previously. So actually in the question, the exam question, they only give you this line and this line. All right. So now how do you figure out where is the point S? Okay, let's pretend point S isn't here. So they say PS is thrice the length of QR. Okay, now if you look at your QR, you should observe that QR is actually, okay, let me just draw this out. You should observe that QR is taking up two mini squares. So if I were to highlight up, it's very thick, let me just pin this down. Okay, if you were to highlight the little rectangle that's surrounding QR, not say surrounding, but QR is cutting diagonally across this blue rectangle. Okay, what must happen is that you notice that the height of the rectangle is 1 unit, one side. Okay, we call this 1 unit. Like that is 1 unit. Now, if you want PS to be thrice the length of QR, that means PS, if I were to form a rectangle such that P is connected to S diagonally, that rectangle must have 3 times the height of this blue rectangle. Okay, so that means if I were to draw and highlight the rectangle out, I start from P, 1, 2, and 3. All right, again, so let me just highlight this again properly. Maybe I use a different color. I use green from here. Okay, so 1, starting from P, 2, and 3. So you see this rectangle height, if I were to fulfill a rectangle, okay, it means that the length also must be 3 times. So you see the length here is 2 parts, 2 units. The length is 1, 2 square units. So same for the rectangle, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Why 6? Because 2 times 3 lah, which give us 6. Because PS must be thrice. Alright, so then that's how I know that this is the rectangle that I'm supposed to draw. Okay, so this rectangle, don't use your pen or pencil to draw this rectangle, it just acts as your guidance. Guidance to figure out where is point S. So point S is here. So that's how I know P to S, it cuts through a 6 by 3 rectangle. 6 squares by 3 squares. Alright, so then now you can connect. Okay, so R to S is here, then Q to S. Okay, I can't use a ruler here, so I'll just do my best to connect. Okay, it'll be a very crooked line, but yours should use a ruler. Okay, something like that. Right? So please mark out the parallel sides like this. And there you go. Make sure when you hold the paper up, look at the diagram from far. It should really look like a trapezium, like one pair of parallel lines. Okay. Okay, let's move on to question 10. So ABC is a triangle. It is formed by 3 identical rhombuses and 3 identical equilateral triangles. Now, where are the rhombuses? You have the shaded rhombus here, here, and here. So remember the property of rhombus is that a rhombus, all 4 sides are equal and it has 2 pairs of parallel lines. It works like a square. It's like a slanted, squashed square. Okay, a square also has 4 equal sides, so it behaves like a square somehow. All right, so which means that I can be very sure to mark out all the equal sides. So guys, for rhombus, you know this and this are equal. All right, this equal, this equal. Now, since all sides are the same, right, that means looking at the 4 sides that I labeled for the rhombus, it means that since this is an equilateral triangle, this line and this line are all the same also. So essentially, all the lines that you see here are all equal to each other. Okay, so it makes things slightly easier to work with also. Now find angle Y. Angle Y is here, this obtuse angle here. Okay, so to find angle Y is simple. Remember, equilateral triangles means all 3 sides are the same, all 3 angles are the same. So the sum of angles in the triangle is adding up to 180 degrees, if you all remember that. Sum of angles, sum of corners in the triangle is 180, hence you can take 180 divided by 3 to find this corner here. Okay, so 180 divided by 3. So 60 degrees. Okay, let me just thin down the pen. 60 degrees will be here. So can you all see finding Y is easy now? Finding angle Y and 60, they all lie on a straight line. These two lie on a straight line here. So to find angle Y, you can just use your 180 minus the 60 degrees. So angle Y is 120 degrees. Now for B, the above is not drawn to scale. Each of the statements is either true, false, not possible, tell. Okay, so we're supposed to tick which statement, each of these statements is true, false, not possible, tell. Now let's look at the first statement. They say ABC is an obtuse angled triangle. Okay, so what is obtuse? Obtuse means anything above 90 degrees but less than 180 degrees. And when they say obtuse angled triangle means that all the three corners, maybe one of the three corner is obtuse angle. Okay, so that's what it means by obtuse angled triangle. It means at least one of the corners. Don't care about the inside shapes, at least one of the corners of the whole triangle ABC, of the big corners, of the big triangle, at least one of the corner has an obtuse angle. Now, but if you look at triangle ABC, this corner, we know it's 60 degrees for sure, because here is 60, here is 120, here will be 60 also. Okay, based on interior angles property. All right, U-shaped angle, these two add up to 180 degrees. We have covered this in class. All right, so this is 60, here also 60, here also 60. So are any of them obtuse angles? No. The only one that's obtuse angle is this one, this 120 that we calculated previously. Yes, I would say that's obtuse angle, but when we say obtuse angle triangle, it's only the three corners of the triangle. Okay, so this statement is obviously a false statement, because I can be very sure to say that none of the corners are obtuse angles. Okay, so that's why we can safely say it's false. Now the next one, 2/3 of the figure is shaded. Okay, so let's look back at the diagram. In order to figure out what fraction is shaded, we may need to cut the diagram up. So how to cut? If you look at this rhombus, you can cut it across to make two sets of equilateral triangle. Cut this across like this. So you cut across diagonally for each of the rhombus, cut across. Right, so now you just count how many triangles are shaded, how many triangles in total, and create a fraction from that. So shaded triangles, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 shaded triangles. Total triangles, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so it's 6/9 shaded. Okay, 6/9, if you simplify, yes, it's 2/3. So this statement is true. Okay, the next one. The total cost of a small folder and a big folder was $5.40. Jack paid $33.75 for 7 small and 6 big folders. What was the cost of 8 small folders? Okay, so first I'll write down two equations. A small folder is 1S plus a big folder 1B equals to 5/4B. So follow the first statement. Next is what Jack paid. You can create another equation. So 7 small plus 6 big. This will be $33.75. Okay, now they ask you what was the cost of 8 small folders. All right, so what we're going to do is, since we are interested in small folders, what we can go on to do is to make the big folders the same number of big folders. So since we have a 1 big folder here, we have 6 big folders here, I'm going to convert this to 6. When I make big folders the same, right, I later on can easily get a small. If you choose to make small the same, can also, just that you will have more steps to go back, to reroute back to getting the cost of small folders. Because when you make small the same, you will end up getting the cost of big instead. Okay, so that's the logic here. All right, so I'm just going to go on to multiply 6 to the first equation, so that I can conveniently make the big folders the same, and hence my answer immediately will be for the small folders. Okay, so let's rewrite the equation. So that will be 6 small plus 6 big. Remember to take 5.4 times 6 also on the calculator. So this is $32.40. Second equation, no change. Second equation, just recopy down. No change for that. Now, and you notice from here, one thing you can get rid of is the big folders. 6B, 6B. You can get rid of 6B. How to get rid of 6B? Simply by finding the difference. You find the difference between the two equations. That's how you can get rid of the B. And at the same time, how many small are you getting? So at the same time, 7S minus 6S, you are getting the cost of 1 small. Okay, B minus B, no more B. So this one small will be 33.75 minus 32.40. $1.35. Okay, so that's the cost of one small folder. Once we are done, we can go on to find what the question was, each small folders. So just multiply accordingly. Okay, so that'll be $10.80. Okay, question 12. Now, a tank with a capacity of 360 liters was empty at first. A tap was turned on for 30 minutes for water to flow into the tank. It was then turned off. The line graph shows the volume over the 30 minutes. Okay, so this line graph shows the volume of water inside the tank during the 30 minutes that's happened. So you can see that it's increasing very consistently, okay, because of the tap. How much water flowed into the tank in 1 minute? Okay, so we're trying to find out in 1 minute. All right, so I think what we can just do is to work out during the whole 30 minutes. Just use the whole 30 minutes will do. Okay, find out in the whole 30 minutes how much water has been put into the tank. So you notice that at 0 minutes, there was zero volume of water, 0 liters of water inside. 30 minutes later, suddenly it shoot up to 240 liters. So that means during that 30 minutes, you have filled up 240 liters of water. Okay, so this is the amount of water placed in the tank. So now you can find out in 1 minute. So just do the division. All right, so 8 liters, that's the answer. Now at the rate shown in the graph, how many more minutes will it take for the tank to be completely filled with water? Okay, do not forget, when they say completely filled means the maximum capacity. Your maximum capacity, remember from previously, is a capacity of 360 liters. Okay, so right now, up till 30 minutes mark, we have filled up to 240 liters. So how much more to fill up? Let's find out the difference in volume first. How much more to fill up? Simply your 360 liters minus the current 240 liters, which is 120 liters. I need another 120 liters for it to be filled to the brim. Okay, so they ask you how many more minutes will it take. So remember each minute previously we found out every minute I can fill up 8 liters. So to find out how many minutes to fill up 120 liters, you just use your 120 liters divide by your 8 liters per minute. And that will give us 15 minutes. Okay, question 13. Now, ABD is an isosceles triangle. AB equals to BD. The moment they give you this AB equals to BD, mark it out. AB and BD, use the whisker lines. Okay, C is a point on AD, so C is here along AD. BDC is 64 and DB is 68, shown there. Find angle CBE. So angle C to B to E is this white angle that you see here. Alright, so guys, if you look at this question, right, there are no parallel lines involved. Okay, so it's alright, okay, because I know usually with parallel lines, things are a little bit easier to work with. Certain angle properties, you can easily spot it. But even if you don't have parallel lines, it's okay because at least this question gave us the information of isosceles triangle. Remember in an isosceles triangle, two sides are the same, two base angles are the same. So in this isosceles triangle, this side is equal to this side. That also means this angle here is the same as this angle here. So the one here and here. Okay, two same angles here. So that means I can safely say that this one is also 64 degrees. So now you should annotate really. Okay, straight away annotate 64 degrees there. Now with that, I should be able to go on to find the third angle in triangle ABD. So I'm just going to highlight up ABD so that you're not confused. My focus is on the isosceles triangle first. Look at the three corners in that triangle. I already have two of the corners colored in pink here. 64, 64. Now I just left with the third corner, which is angle A, B, D. You need to learn how to name the angle because this will be crucial in your labeling of steps. Some schools, they deduct half mark when you don't label this angle. Okay, so I'm trying to find angle A, B, D, this angle here. So remember, angles in a triangle add up to 180. So 180 minus the two corners. So this is 52 degrees. So ABD is 52. Now that means that if I were to label the 52, this one is 52. Okay, can you see now inside the 52, I have the 40 also. That means I can find this small angle here, CBD. Okay, so let's put that out, angle CBD. You can just use your 52 minus 40. So CBD here is 12 degree. Okay, now I also have 68 here. So now finding CBE is easy. CBE is this wide angle made up of these two angles, made up of my 12 and 68. So to find angle CBE, I can just use my 12 degree to plus with the 68 degree right next to it. Okay, so this is my answer, 80 degree. Okay, let's go on to question 14. This is on percentage. Mrs. Lim went to a florist. She paid $294 for a vase after a discount of 40%. What was the price before the discount? Okay, now be very careful. This price is the final price she paid after the discount. So you should not be taking 40% times 294. You shouldn't take your discount percent times after price. If anything you want to times, you should times the before price, the usual price, okay? So you cannot use the multiplication way. So you have to use the units way. Identify how many percent is $294. So if I get to enjoy 40% discount, means what I paid here is actually 60%, right? 100 minus 40. So now I can safely say 60% is the $294. Of course, work out 1%. 490. Now they want the price before discount. Anything before discount is my original. Original is 100%. Okay. Now for B, she paid $36 for 18 stalks of roses and lilies. Roses were sold at 180 each, lilies were sold at 240 each. How many stalks of roses did Mrs. Lim buy? Okay, so I hope you can tell this is actually on supposition. All right, they give you the cost of one rose, they give you the cost of one lily. You know she bought 18 stocks total, you know she paid $36 total. Okay, so this should remind you of assumption method or supposition method. All right, so since the question asks how many stocks of roses did she buy? So actually this question B, right, has nothing to do with part A lah. Part A is anyway about the cost of the vase, nothing to do with the flowers here. Okay, so I'm just going to scroll up. So how many stalks of roses did she buy? So when the question asks for roses, you start off by assuming the opposite. You assume all the 18 stalks are lilies. So you need to write down this statement to indicate, to define your assumption first. Now when I assume all are lilies, that means I pretend the cost of I need to find the cost of the 18 stalks of lilies. So we call that the total cost. Okay, I'll just put the word total cost. So simply by taking your 18 stocks, multiply by the cost of a lily. A lily is 240. So it's $43.20. Now, but remember, she actually paid $36. So based on my assumption, I'm supposed to pay $43.20, which is too much money. So I'm going to pull out some money from here. The extra money to pull out, we call it extra, simply by taking 43.20 minus what she actually paid. So $7.20 is the extra to pull out from the diagram. Okay, assuming if I'm drawing a diagram, if you all can remember the diagram that we have done before many times. All right, so 720 is the extra that I'm taking out from the 18 stocks. Okay, I think maybe I'll draw the diagram out to help for those who are not so familiar with this concept. Yeah, okay, let me just, pardon me, just draw quickly. So now since I assume all are lilies, right? I just put an L in each circle, dot, 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 dot. This is 18 stocks of lilies. Okay, so based on my assumption, 18 lilies cost 43.20. We have calculated that in the first step, right? And based on this, since I know the extra to remove is 720, I need to write a note here to remove 720. Okay, now if I want to remove $7.20, I cannot just say let's just sell lesser flowers or fewer flowers. Okay, because remember, I still need to keep it as 18 flowers. To keep it as 18 stocks of flowers and yet removing 720, the only way to do here is to exchange. Exchange a lily and turn it into a rose. You should notice that during this exchange, money will be removed from the diagram, from this logic here. Why? Because a lily is more expensive. A rose is cheaper. So what is the loss in amount during this one exchange? So that is our next step. One exchange. In one exchange, from a $2.40 lily, I drop it to a 180 lily. So the loss is actually 60 cents loss. So this is how I get a 60 cents. Just take the difference. Okay, so over here, you can write down loss of 60 cents for that one exchange. Okay, now guys, but remember, there must be many more exchanges for me to remove $7.20. This was our goal, to remove 720. Each exchange allows me to remove 60 cents only. So my next step is to find out how many of such exchanges are required. So number of exchanges. And that would be to take 720 divided by 60 cents. So that would be 12 of such exchanges. 12 of such exchanges also means I end up with 12 roses. Every exchange leads to a rose. So same over here. 12 exchanges means I have 12 stocks of roses. So you have answered the question. Okay. Okay, question 15. Tickets for an attraction were sold at different prices. Okay, so adult and child prices are stated here. 1/4 of the tickets sold were adult tickets. The total amount collected from the sale of all the tickets was $10,600. How many tickets were sold all together? Okay, so I hope you all can tell this is actually using quantity and value concept. The quantity is stated here, the fraction. 1/4 of the tickets were adult tickets. So this is a quantity ratio that you can create later on. Value, no issues. Value, I got a price per person. Okay, total value, no problem. Okay, this 10,600 will be useful later on. So this is where you use the quantity and value table to solve the equation. So adult and child, we just write like that. So remember side heading quantity, value, and total value. All right, let's start to fill up the table. So this table is known as your one group, yeah? Don't forget, one group. So inside one group, let's figure out the quantity of adults and child first. So adult, they said 1/4 of the tickets sold were adult. So that means one. One is the adult, one adult. Child, take note, not four. Four is all the tickets sold. 1/4 of the tickets sold. So four is the tickets that were sold. That means child must be three. Sorry, I still wrote four. Three. Okay, not four, three. So 4 minus 1, 3. Okay, 3 children per group. Value means per person. Look at the price here, just copy that down. Total value, just do the multiplication. You have $82 here. This one will be $183 here. Okay, so I get 1 was 61 times 3. 61 times 3 children, 82 times 1 adult. So this is your one group, one set. Now let's look back at the 10,600. This is the total amounts collected for all the tickets. Which also means, looking at one group, I should find out how much am I collecting per group first. Okay, so amounts collected in one group. And to do this means look at the $82 plus the $183. Right? So in one group, I collect $265. But since I'm collecting so much money, 10,600, it means that there are many more of such groups. So the next step is to find out number of groups. So you use your $10,600 divided by $265 per group. So there will be 40 of such groups that exist. Once you have groups, reread the final question. How many tickets were sold all together? So look at one group. When you say how many tickets means I focus on the quantity. Looking at the quantity means how many people, how many tickets did I sell in one group? You notice there's 1 plus 3. 4 tickets per group, right? There are 4 tickets per group, but since there are 40 of such groups, means you have to multiply by 40 groups. So there will be 160 tickets altogether. Okay, question B, how much more money was collected from the sale of child tickets than the sale of adult tickets? Okay, so child tickets versus adult tickets, we want the how much more, means we want the difference. So if you look back at one group, looking at the total value, you shouldn't just look at value, because if you just look at value, it's just for one adult and one child. All right, so we have to look at the total value instead, because it's dependent on 3 children and 1 adult. So difference in one group will be $183 minus $82. So that's what we will look at first. Difference in one group. Okay, so the difference in one group is only $101. But remember, all together we actually have 40 groups. So you have to find out the difference across the 40 groups. So just take 40 times $101, which will be $4,040. So this will also be representative of the total difference between all the child tickets and all the adult tickets. So there you go. Question 16. Now, Mr. Mohammed bought some balloons. He used 119 of them to decorate a hall and gave 38 of the remaining balloons to his children. He was left with 1/5 of the total. How many balloons did he buy? Right. So questions like that, it should seem familiar to you. You have to work off the remaining. That tells you that a model is required. Okay, so we're going to start by drawing a full model, a whole model first. Now, for the model, you shouldn't cut into units first because of the starting information he used 119 to decorate a hole. So what you should do is inside this whole balloons that he has, you should park aside 119. This is for hall decoration. So label all these things. And finally, you can start to go on to label your remainder and give 38 of the remaining. So obviously your remainder has to be this part here. Now, so what he did with this remainder is 3/8. He gave 3/8 of the remainder to children. So by habit, what we do is we withdraw the remainder down, okay? And we are proceeding to cut this remainder into 8 equal parts, as stated by the fraction. All right. So out of 8 parts, we know that he's going to give 3 to his children. And he was left with whatever it is. So this is the left. He didn't do anything else with it. Okay. Now, if we look at the fraction, he was left with 1/5 of the total number of balloons. We actually have 2 information for that. First information is model information. We see 5 parts. Second information for the left is the 1/5 here. All right, so your job is to make sure these 2 information tallies with each other because they are both referring to the same leftover. Okay, they are both referring to the same leftover. So we need to make sure that they match each other in terms of information. Okay, so we look at the 1/5 again. Now he was left with 1/5 of the total. Now let's try to understand what does the 1 and 5 each represent. Okay, so I think this is something we've always been discussing. All right, so nothing new here. So the 1 unit here, this represents the left, obviously, correct? He was left with 1/5 of the total. And the 5 here represents the total at first. Now that means in this case, if you look at the left, here shows 5 parts, right? But my left here shows 1. So what you need to do is to make sure you make this one, the left, 1 unit, and make the 5 units left here the same number of units, which means that you have to make adjustments. Either you make adjustments to the fraction or you make adjustment to the model, or sometimes in some cases you make adjustments to both fraction and model to make sure the number of units matches the same. This case, you only need to adjust the 1. You don't have to adjust the model. So what we're going to do with the 1 is to times 5 to it. Okay, we multiply 5 times 5 become 5/25. See what I mean? Okay, so I times 5 to this, I times 5 to the other one. All right, and finally that allows this 5 units and that 5 units to match. Okay, let me just clean up something first. Okay, yep. Okay, so I hope you all can see what's going on. The 5 units left and the 5 from the numerator left now represents the same left with 5 and 5. Okay, which also means 25 units is now my new total. So now I can safely say my new total, let me just change to the orange pen. Okay. So the left is 5U and the new total is now 25 units. All right. And that also means I can safely say that this each one is 1U, 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 1U lah, correct? So that's how you get this. That it will be 5 units in actual fact. 1U, 1U, 1U. Okay, let's get the remainder. The remainder will be 1, 1, 1. So there'll be 8 sets of 1U, which means the remainder is 8U. So now you can do something to find out how many units is the 119 people here. Right? So you can just use your total 25 units, the whole stretch is 25 units, minus your 8U. So now I can say 17 units is the 190 people. Let's work out 1 unit. 7 people. Now read the question, how many balloons did he buy? What he bought is at first. So at first what he bought was basically your new total of 25 units. When I say new total, I don't mean the total change. Okay, when I say new total, I'm talking about the new units that I should depend on. So now I should depend on 25 units. I shouldn't depend on I shouldn't depend on the old 5 units that was stated here. Because we have established numerator here and border units here to be the same number of units, hence the total will now become a different value. Okay, so 7 times 25. So that means he bought 175 balloons at first. Okay, now let's go on to question 17. Our last question for today. This is on patterns. David uses toothpicks to form figures, and the first 4 figures are shown. So a table is shown here. They show you number of hexagons, number of toothpicks. Hexagon is one shape like that. This is called hexagon. Okay, so notice that numbers they fill out to figure 4. We need to complete for figure 5. Okay, so let's look at how the pattern is going on. All right, so if we notice that this is actually a plus 3, this is a plus 2, this is a plus 3. Okay, so I would suppose the next one will be a plus 2. So this will be 12. For the toothpicks, this will be plus 12, plus 7, plus 12. So this will be plus 7. So we call this alternating difference, because the difference is not constant. The difference is like switching between two numbers, 12, 7, 12, 7, and so on. Okay, B will be half. So which figure number uses 182 toothpicks? Okay, so this is quite challenging. Actually, for constant increase, let's say plus 12, plus 12, plus 12 all the way lah, always plus the same number. No issues. You can use intervals concept, right? The normal intervals concept that we have covered during our regular lessons. Okay, now however, this kind of difference, this kind of alternating difference is challenging, because what then you need to do is you need to group up these two numbers to be one group. And that is your one interval. Okay, so it's not so simple. Okay, it's definitely way more challenging than you expect. All right, so I'm going to just color this up. Let's focus on toothpicks, huh? So this, all right, this one will be your one group. All right, that's one group of increase. So what we're going to do next is we're going to first find out what is the total increase from 11 toothpicks all the way to 182 toothpicks first. Okay, so let's work that out first. All right, so simply 182 minus 11. So there's an increase of 171 toothpicks altogether. All right, so in this case, I need to find out how many of such groups allow the increase of 171 to happen. All right, so I call this the total increase in toothpicks. This increase are all due to the plus 12, plus 7, plus 12, plus 7. So hence, inside this 171, there must be many of such groups, many of these groups of increases. So I'm going to find out number of groups. Let's hope it's a nice number. So if you look at number of groups, you see every group is a plus 19. So to find number of groups, you just take 171 divided by 19 per group. Okay, luckily it's a very nice number. Okay, so that means there are 9 of such groups. 9 sets of the green one that I've indicated here. Okay, now to get to the figure number, how do I know? Okay, so if you look at one group, right, every one group consists of how many intervals first? So every one group, there are 2 intervals, right? 2 increase means 2 intervals lah. Okay, so every one group is 2 intervals, but since I have 9 groups, there should be 18 intervals. That means 18 of the arrows, 18 small arrows to reach to 182 toothpicks. Yeah, let me just write properly. Uh, Books. Okay, so there are 18 of such arrows moving downwards. Now, guys, you want to reach the figure number. All right, so very simple. Now you start from figure 1 because 11 to 6 was from figure 1. You move down 18 intervals, that means you move down 18 arrows. Which figure would you arrive at? So simply figure 1 plus the 18 intervals. So you reach figure 19. So this question, like I said, not so simple because it's not using the usual intervals concept, but it's actually intervals with grouping concept. Okay. Okay, that's all. So we have come to the end of the practice paper. Thank you very much. I hope it has been helpful.